Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel. We continue with Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. So, first of all, welcome back from the 2-week hiatus. We needed a little off time, of course, during the week of Pesach. And now we're back and we're in the counting of the Omer. All right, so there's a lot going on over there. Some news and updates from Israel. So, last time we spoke, there have been several siblings who were tragically killed. The two older siblings, 18 and 22, they were shot in their car. Two brothers, and then two younger brothers. Actually, rather, first it was the two children, 6 and 8. They got run over by our peace-loving cousins, and then our peace-loving cousins murdered another set of siblings, two more brothers a week later. And this was already after the murder right outside the synagogue. And just last week, right before Passover Eve, there was another shooting, just a drive-by shooting, and they killed, again, two sisters, and their mother was in the car. The mother was in critical condition, and unfortunately, she died a few days later. So the family lost two sisters and a mother. And then shortly after they laid them all to rest, there were floods in Israel. Very, very strange timing, because this came after we prayed for the rain to stop. So when it's raining during the time where we pray for rain, that's a good thing from God. But on the second day of Pesach we already pray for Tfilat Hatal, the prayer of the dew, not for the rain. And then later on that week, it was absolutely stormy, flooding everywhere. So down south in the Negev, we actually had a brother and sister who drowned from this. We're talking flash floods. You're driving down the highway in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden you get swept by water. That's why it's very dangerous. You're not encouraged to drive down to the Dead Sea or to the Negev, especially during wintertime, because this happens. But it does not happen during this time. So what is God trying to tell us? That we have already 4 pairs of siblings, 2 sets of brothers, and then another set of sisters, and then a brother and sister that gets taken from us like this. We're at war with each other, with one another, with what's happening right now in Israel. So again, not even getting into politics. The bottom line is, if you are protesting, there has to be someone else you're protesting against. You're not just protesting against the government, you're protesting against the people that put the government where it is. In other words, it doesn't matter. This is not a matter of right or wrong. This is a matter of Jew fighting now against Jew. And then guess what happens? Murder after murder after murder. Murder after murder. Sets of brothers and sisters. It's crazy. Not to mention, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a lot also going on our military front all around right now. We are very much on high alert. And the only reason I'm saying any of this here is because it's already started to leak out to the public. But I really don't want to give y'all nightmares right now. But it's coming. Not only that, towards the end of this week, on the 22nd or so, I believe, on Friday and Shabbat, which is when our Rosh Chodesh is, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, which is the month of healing, by the way. That's when Ramadan ends. Everybody's on super high alert because they're about to unleash whatever it is they're going to unleash. So we'll wait and see. Everything, of course, is in God's hands. Everything. So we just have to move forward with complete faith, knowing that everything is in his hands and he's doing whatever he's doing for a reason. We have a job to do, and that's what I'm doing here right now. I'm doing my best to teach you guys Torah so you guys can take this with you and apply it to your daily lives. So let's get into it, and this is a great class too. So this is chapter 34a. Finally, we were out of the 33. We got down to 33f already. Now we're in 34a. Yes, there is going to be a b. This one is called Now, See Now That I Am He. Okay? Hallelujah to Adonai kol goyim shebechu kol haomim ki gavar elenu chasdo ve'emet Adonai leolam. Hallelujah. See now that it is I am He, and there is no God with me. I cause death and grant life. I strike, but heal, and no one can rescue from my hand. ראו אתה כי אני הוא ואין אלוהים עמדי. אני אמית ואחיה, מחצתי ואני ארפה, ואין מידי מציל. ואין מידי מציל. This is Deuteronomy 32:39. This is a great verse. I've actually studied this one before. It comes towards the end of the Song of Moses from Deuteronomy 32. האזינו השמיים ואדברה ותשמע הארץ אמרי פי, יערוף כמטר לקחי תזל קטל אמרתי, כשעירים עלי דשא וכרביבים עלי עשב. Listen, O heavens, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. My lesson will drip like rain, my word will flow like dew, like storm winds on vegetation, and like raindrops on grass. I'll give you another tip. If you want to know exactly what is going to happen at the end of days, now read this and study this. Deuteronomy 32. This is that prophecy that Moses invokes the heaven and the earth. In fact, I've given classes on this prophecy if you go back to the Parsha teachings. All right, so this is the song. And let me tell you something. Shakespeare ain't got nothing on Moses. Not even close. You see this entire song of Ha'azinu, which literally means listen. Ha'azinu, listen up. I think that might be one of the names I called the class. As Moses calls upon the heavens and the earth to bear witness to his words, because they're gonna be here in the end, right? And at some point, Moses' words become God's words, right? And that's the verse that we're talking about. That point being in our title verse, see now that I am he. That's very clear also from the text. You'll see Moses is speaking about God and God this and God did this and God did that and how he is. Atzur tamim pa'alo. And then see now that I am he. That's not Moses already. That's already God now speaking through Moses directly. Of course, everything that Moses said is sanctioned by God through Ruach HaKodesh, but see now that I am he, that's already God joining the song of Moses and letting everybody have it. So please, again, go read Deuteronomy 32 because that is the entire thought process and plan laid out for us right here by Moses, invoking heaven and earth, acting as the ultimate hype man for the Holy One, blessed be he. That's what Moses was doing. And the crowd goes wild. Then behold, the creator of the universe steps in. See now that I am he, and there is no God with me. Whoo! That's like God saying amen to Moses' words about God. In any case, this is the verse that we will be discussing throughout this class. So now that you have no doubt, and you pause the video because you can, go and read chapter 32. It's definitely going to help this class. Regardless, you must, but it's your call. Anyway, let's continue. Why did the Holy One, blessed be he, see fit to say twice, Ani, Re'u, Ata, ki Ani hu, right? Ani is I. See now that I am he. Why did God not say, see now that I am he? That's our question. Rather, the Holy One, blessed be he, said, I am he in this world, and I am he in the world to come. That's where you have the ani 2 times. What am I in this world? I cause death, says God, right? From our verse, have it in front of you. I cause death and grant life. I strike but heal, and no one can rescue from my hand. We're discussing this. What am I in this world? I cause death. And what am I for the world to come? I grant life. God is showing us that he is consistent no matter the time, place, space, reality, before, after, it doesn't matter. Wherever we are, God is always, I am he. Ani hu, right? Ani zehu, I am he. Past, present, or future, to us, God is always present simply because we are. We, right now, you and I, well, again, when you're going to get this is my future. I recorded this in your past, but you understand what I'm saying. Wherever we currently are, that is where God can be found. Not in the past and not in the future. For us, we are in the here and now, right? That's why also God said, Eheye asher eheye, tell the people, I will be what I will be, to you based on what you are. So to us, based on what we are is what? I am he. Here I am, and I'm here right now. That's how God is to us. This is the hint he gave Moses, like we just said in Exodus 3:12. He said, "For I will be with you, and this is a sign. And this is a sign for you that it was I who sent you. When you take the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Vayomer ki eheye imach. I will be with you." And this is the name that God said. What am I going to tell people to send me? Eheye. Ki eheye imach. Eheye will be with you. Not how you are now, but how you're going to be prepared to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. I am he when my people are slaves, and I am he when my people will be taken out. There is no time. There's no time for God. He's not bound by time. It is but another construct by which we are able to exist. There's no time. There's no space. There's no existence. There just is, and we need that in order to actually fill this void. Which is why in the very next verse, Moses is asking God, how should he present him to the children of Israel? Like we said, and God answers, God said to Moses, Eheye asher eheye, I will be what I will be, or I will be that I will be. And he said, so shall you say to the children of Israel, Eheye, I will be, has sent me to you. That's it. There's no and God said, I am. That's paganism, mistranslating the text very simply, okay? That's not what the Torah, especially not in the Hebrew, says. As we've discussed and dedicated classes upon classes to this, in the Acharit Kereshit series, we know that God will be to us as we are to him, whenever we are to him, wherever we are to him, however we are to him. Okay, God doesn't change. We're the one that moves close and far. This shows us three things. One, God never moves, never changes, including his Torah, of course. This is one of our 13 principles of faith that we recite daily. 2, it shows us that we have complete free will to either draw near or pull away. It's up to us, and God allows us to do so. 3, because God wanted to remove us from Egypt in order to give us the Torah, shows us that God desires more than anything else to be near to us. Why do we keep reading, Asher hotzeti etcha me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim? I am the Lord your God who has taken you out of the land of Egypt in order to be your God. God can't be God to us in the land of Egypt? Of course he can, but we would not be able to receive anything. Why? Because that is the epitome of idolatry. Take that, apply it to your lives. Can God speak to you if you are living a certain way? He can. He most likely is, but it's impossible for you to hear it. You see? Very simple. Also, again, going back to anybody who, how shall we say, is in idolatry, right? Who doesn't believe they're in idolatry and they hear things, you know it, by default it's not God because it goes against his very word, right? Idolatry and God doesn't mix. I am he in this world, and I am he for the world to come. I am he who has redeemed you from Egypt, and I am he who will redeem you at the end of the fourth kingdom. What is the fourth kingdom? That of Edom, which we are still in for over 2,000 years now. Meaning that when there is no remnant of, what is Edom? Christianity is gone, and everything that goes with it, New Testament, is all gone. That's when the fourth exile will be complete. This is why it is said, I am he. I will be with you when I take you out of Egypt, and I will be with you when I finally remove the final filth from the world. The exodus from Egypt was but a glimpse on a very small scale compared to what will be the final redemption. To God, they're one and the same. Think of it as kind of like schematics. Paper placed on top of other papers that exist at the same time. Now you're seeing everything, but here's the first redemption, here's the final redemption, right? And all the stuff in between. It paints a beautiful picture like we discussed with the candle, right? If you put it sideways, it's a dot. But once you infuse time into it, all of a sudden, you got to go through all these things. To God, it's all one. It's all perfect. We don't see it that way because where are we compared to God, right? Okay. But because of time infused into our reality, to us, like we said, it is linear. So God is telling us again, past and future are all one because I am he. King Solomon totally understood this, obviously, because he was Solomon, as he said in Ecclesiastes 1:9. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. Right? מה שהיה הוא שיהיה, ומה שנעשה הוא שיעשה, ואין כל חדש תחת השמש. And I gave you that little interesting snippet over here. Ma shehaya, it spells Moshe. Mem he shin haya. Moshe haya hu sheyeh. Moses was and he will be. First Redeemer, last Redeemer. Yes, Moses is coming back. No, Moses is not Messiah. But he serves a very, very important function. Like we said, Moses is the one who's going to teach the Mashiachs, Ben Yosef and Ben David, Torah. Even Ben David, even King Messiah, does not have the level of prophecy as Moses. No one does. It is impossible. But again, in Judaism, it's not a competition. Everybody does their own function. And yes, King Messiah is supposed to reign. He's supposed to govern. But who would be the spiritual leader of Israel? Moses, as he was. Very simple. No conflict here. Everybody knows their place, right? Because everything is one. I am he in this world, and I am he in the world to come. I am he who has redeemed you from Egypt, and I am he who will redeem you at the end of the fourth kingdom. This is why it is said, I am he. As we read the next part, we will understand exactly why the fourth kingdom, Edom, Christianity, is specifically mentioned. And again, you're going to also see this if you read this chapter. You will see it over there. Now, I need you again to remember, this is obviously from the Torah given to us 3,300 years ago and change. This, what I'm reading from right now, is Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, written about 2,000 years ago. Okay. Anyone who says that there is another God, says Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. Who says that? The Christians say that, right? God is sharing his throne with Jebus. Sure, yeah, keep saying that. Anyone who says that there is another God, I will kill him with the second death, where there is no resurrection. You see, in the end, it's that all the world is going to come to God and say, listen, you're clearly favoring Israel. And so we say, you guys go with the gods that you worshipped during your lifetime, and we will go with our God, and we'll see whose God is going to save. So at the end, people expecting, Jebus, save me, it's not going to work. Okay, I will kill him with the second death, where there is no resurrection. You don't want to get caught there. Everybody has to die at least once, but almost everybody will be resurrected in the resurrection. We will soon learn exactly who won't even be there. However, just because almost everybody will be resurrected does not mean that you will receive your life necessarily, but rather you will be judged and then your fate will be the same as death. You, like death, will cease to exist. That's hence the resurrection. There's only a resurrection when there's no more death. Death has no more power, so everything lives. But then those that never clung to God to begin with or were in idolatry, they are following death, no problem, ceasing to exist, and also you don't want to get caught there. Therefore, by far, it is better to be a Noahide than anything else. I'm not talking about Jews, obviously. If you're a born Jew or if you feel that you need to be a Jew, absolutely, go for it. But, do it. You can't just say it. Otherwise, declare yourself a Noahide. Noahide means no idolatry. No man gods, no lamb gods, no nobody else. There is only God. I am he and there is no other God besides me. Deuteronomy. No contest here. Okay. We continue. And anyone who says that there is no other God, anyone who says that there is no other God, I will revive them for life in the world to come. Who says there is no other God? Israel. There's no other God but God. Kill these and revive those. Therefore it says, I cause death and grant life, from our verse. The Babylonian and Persian exiles lasted 70 years. The Greek exile wasn't even an exile necessarily from the land, but rather from the temple and its works, so it was still called an exile. How did our sages know over 2,000 years ago? How did they know this? Over 2,000 years ago that the Roman Empire, which became the Roman Catholic Church, which is the foundation for all the 42,000 Christian denominations today. And yes, this of course includes the Messianics. There's no real difference over there. What, because you're dressing up like Jews? It doesn't work. How did they know that this would last for over 2,000 years until the end of time? It's so far-fetched if you think about it. 70 years, a bunch of years, 52 years. Okay, over 2,000 years? No one could possibly imagine this, but they saw it happening. And again, Romans, Roman Catholic Church, Christianity in all its denominations. No one can even, we discussed this how many times in our Red series, right? You can't deny the origin of this. So it doesn't matter what you believe as long as you're reading the same book that they are and going by it. Just another one of the denominations. This is the ultimate sifting, the beast that is greater than them all, right? Edom. This exile was meant to exhaust us and wear us down until our last breath. All to see who would say that there is one God or another with God, right? Because it might very well come down to that. It has come down to this in the past, as we saw, let's say, for instance, in Spain, right? 1492 wasn't just a great year for America. Nebuchadnezzar did not destroy Jerusalem, only the temple. But the Romans burned all of Jerusalem to the ground in an attempt to wipe the memory of her from the books completely, renaming her Aya Capitolina, changing the name of Israel to Palestina, building on top of it like what Jerusalem? I don't know what you're talking about. No Jerusalem, no Jews, no nothing, right? Building on top of her and saying, look, this was always here. What likes to build on top of our stuff? This would be also the New Testament, right? Building on top of the Torah, claiming what the Old Testament is done away with. This is what's up right now. This is, don't look down. You got nothing to look for. It's away. It's gone. Aya Capitolina, please. Here we go. You don't see. I hope people who are listening, get some red flags and some dinner bells going. Don't you see why they will be wiped out? You see, they continued that till this very day. Christians and Jews can never coexist in reality. We're not talking about in the politically correct, all tolerant, whatever they think is going on today in Jerusalem. No, I'm not talking about this warped, politically correct reality, right? That we call today. It's not like that's exactly working either. Now, I'm saying that by default, the New Testament and everything in there is a direct, unquestionable opposition to the Torah. It is idolatry, deviant worship in the best case scenario. What is deviant worship? You really truly want to worship God, but it's going through unholy sources and it's never reaching God, right? Now, there's also a difference if you think that Jesus is Messiah for some reason, even though like we did the checklist, and not only does he not fill not a single one of the checklists for a potential Messiah, but in our Red series, especially the last 3 classes, I gave direct quotes over there from the New Testament of things that he supposedly said that go against not only the oral law, but also the written law of God. And I gave the sources over there. It's very simple. So in other words, if you see that, and you see this, there's a problem right here. And if you're going with the new stuff, the stuff that came questionably thousands of years later, and you're throwing away the original stuff that actually never changed, or the people that continue by the original stuff, then I would hate to see where you would stand during the resurrection of the dead. You see, it's very simple. There's a time where your blind faith, you can have blind faith, but you need a certain, foundation. If your foundation is the stuff that is built on top, it's going to fall because there's by default no foundation, right? Go to the foundation. That's what I'm talking about. If you start from where it all originated from, you'll never even get to that part. I have crushed Jerusalem, says our text, and her inhabitants on the day of my wrath. The day of my wrath in Hebrew is Beyom Charon Api. It's important because it is God who did this, okay? As much as it was them, God did it, God allowed it to be done. Everything that happens directly always comes from God. As the language is the same in Lamentations 1:12. What happened in Lamentations? That was the Babylonians, right? So listen. All of you who pass along the road, let it not happen to you. Behold and see, if there is any pain like my pain, which has been dealt to me, with which the Lord saddened me on the day of his fierce anger. What does this say in Hebrew? Asher hoga Hashem beyom charon apo. right? So our text from Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer is in Beyom Charon Api, God speaking, Beyom Charon Apo, in the day of his fierce anger, day of my fierce anger, says God, okay? So we take from our text, we compare it to Lamentations 1:12. What did God do on that day? What is the pain that we felt? Remember our opener? I will be what I will be to you, wherever you're at. The pain is the separation from God. And we can never fully connect to God unless we are connected to, guess what? Each other. That is Knesset Yisrael, the gathering of Israel, the real Knesset Yisrael. Like we said, not this thing. Oh boy, I pray that this thing gets, you don't even understand. As long as that's standing, there can be no unification in Israel. Lamentations 1:13, the next verse says, from above he has hurled fire into my bones, and it broke them. He has spread a net for my feet. He has turned me back. He has made me desolate and faint all day long. God did this. God did this. This ain't Satan. This ain't God did this. Regardless of who or what or how we sent to do it, because we know it was the angel Gabriel. But God sent Gabriel. Gabriel is not a rogue agent. There are no rogue agents. If you believe in a rogue agent, a rogue angel, you don't believe in the sovereignty of God. So stop saying that. This is what happened. Our bones were broken and dispersed from that time until today. They're still there, like all over the place, as we can see. Now, do we recall the last teaching of the Valley of the Dry Bones, right? I have crushed Jerusalem and her inhabitants on that day, on the day of my wrath. And in great mercy, I will heal them. How can we ever truly be healed unless we are united in the land of Israel? We can't. Isaiah 54, verse 7 and 8. For a small moment I have forsaken you, right? And with great mercy I will gather you. So if anyone says that God has forsaken Israel and the Jews and now you're new, don't even go there. Berega katan azavtich uberachamim gdolim akabtzech. For a small moment I have forsaken you. Yeah, 2,000 years is still a small moment for God. With a little wrath did I hide my countenance for a moment from you, and with everlasting kindness will I have compassion on you, said your Redeemer, the Lord, Amal Goalech Adonai, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the name of mercy. You have to understand, and there is no God but Him. No, He is. That's it. He's the one who does everything. Therefore it is said, I strike, but heal. And no angel and seraph will be able to save the wicked, says our text. This part is alluding to what? The Passover Haggadah. When we read the story, right? I hope if you guys enjoyed your Seder or whatnot. When we read the story, we are able to tell where we are to tell the high priest from Deuteronomy 26:8, right? When we enter the land. And the Lord brought us out from the land of Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm. ויוצאנו אדוני ממצרים ביד חזקה ובזרוע נטויה ובמורא גדול ובאותות ובמופתים, with great awe and with great signs and wonders. Then we read in the Haggadah the following. It is God who took us out of Egypt, not by an angel, not by a seraph, not by a messenger, but rather the Holy One, blessed be He, alone. Then we read in Exodus 12:12. I will pass through the land of Egypt on this night, and I will smite every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and upon all the gods of Egypt I will wreak judgments, I, the Lord. Ani Hashem. Now, it says, Va'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim balayla, I passed through Egypt by night, ani velo malach. We said, I, and not an angel. Ve'kiti kol bechor be'eretz Mitzrayim, and I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt. Ani velo saraf, me, I, and not a seraph. Ubechol eloi Mitzrayim eseh shvatim, and all the gods of Egypt, I will smack them around. Ani velo ashaliach, me and not an emissary, not a messenger. Ani Hashem, I am He, and there is no other. And no angel and seraph will be able to save the wicked from the judgments of hell, of Gehenom, it says. What are the judgments of Gehenom? This is the hell that we create for ourselves, each man according to his deeds. Do you understand? This is one of the understandings of the aspect of Gehenom. What is Gehinnom? What is the purpose of Gehinnom, right? A Jew dies, most likely goes to Gehinnom. What is the purpose of Gehinnom? Forget about what the other pagan religions tell you hell is, okay? We discussed there are realms of hell. There are levels of hell. And again, it's called Gehinnom, but hell is just so you guys can better understand it, right? Gehinnom is actually a place. It's called Gei Ben Hinnom, the valley of the son of Hinnom. It's right outside of the city of David. That's where Abraham had to walk through to ascend to Temple Mount. So Gehinnom, right? In any case, but also they're saying that that's also an opening to the pits of hell. In any case, what are the judgments of hell? This is the hell that we create for ourselves. So like I said, if you sin if you live a certain way, you die, you will be then shown, you meaning your neshama, your ruach, your nefesh will be shown the kind of damage that you did to yourself and to the world. And then it will show you the potential, what you could have done if you did, let's say, apply yourself. If you did not do that, but did what you were supposed to do, how high you could have reached and what you could have done. And then you'll see, you don't have to be a great sage. You don't have to be endowed with prophecy or any of these things. You could be a very simple yid doing what you need to do, and you're right up there with everybody else. This is what it is. Right now, this is part of, again, the framework, the structure of religiosity, which again, I'm not a fan of, okay? The Judaism is, like we said, is by default because there's so many other isms. Now you can't even be Judaism because there's Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, Messianic Judaism, really not even anything. So Orthodox Judaism, Jews that actually live according to the halachot in the Torah. That's what I'm talking about. That is a real Jew. All the others are not. They don't. So they can't call themselves that. And yet, political correctness, they do. Good for them. But in the end, everything is going to be clear. Isaiah 50 verse 11 says, "Behold, all of you who kindle fire, who give power to flames, go in the flame of your fire." You created this fire. Go into the flame of your fire, and in the flames you have kindled. From my hand has this come to you. In grief you shall lie down. Tishkavun. You understand what I'm saying? The only grief that we get is the grief that we create. God is perfectly just and perfectly merciful. And again, what is the purpose of Gehinnom? Is to purify us. It's to wash our neshama so we can go to Gan Eden. That's its purpose. That's what it is. You don't stay there forever. You stay there for as long as you need to until you do a tikkun for what you did, right? And meaning a rectification for what you did, for how you lived your life, so you can ascend really to where you need to be, because otherwise you can't go through there. You can't enter the king's court if you're coming from the muck and the mud, right? You need to get hosed down, put some new garments on. So that's what Gehinnom is, right? Instead, I could have been there in the meantime, seeing what you could have done, what you should have done, what happens if you didn't do it, and so on and so forth. That is one aspect of your Gehinnom. Okay. Perfect justice and judgment, something that only the master of the universe can exact. You will lie down in the bed you made. Okay, that verse again, Isaiah 50, verse 11. I'll read it again. "Behold, all of you who kindle fire of sins, who give power to the flames." You're the ones that are working, are feeding this fire. "In the flame of your fire, and in the flames you have kindled. From my hand this has come to you. In grief you shall lie down." Everything is your own doing, and you're getting exactly what's coming to you. This is not a punishment. This is a rectification. This is a correction. And if you have any questions as far as, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? If you have any questions, again, there's no fear, there's peace, right? The solution, the answer, the way is usually a lot more simple than what most people make. A lot of people might be freaking out. How can I pray to God if I this, if I that? Please, do you know who you're talking to right now, or who's talking to you right now? Like I said, if I could do it, anybody could do it. Really, I haven't met a lot of people who lived a life like I have. So that's what tshuva is about. You can always come to God, no matter where, no matter in what place. Like I said, in a drunk on the floor of a club bathroom in Las Vegas. praying to God. From anywhere. God will always listen to you, but then you have to start moving towards him so you can actually hear something in return. Okay. You will lie down in the bed that you have made, as said, back to our text, and no one can rescue from my hand, from our title verse. Rabbi Yonatan says, all the dead will rise, except for the generation of the flood, as said in Isaiah 26:14. Metim bal yichyu, refaim bal yakumu, lachen pakadati vatashmidem v'taved kol zecher lamo. The dead shall not live. Look what it says. Slackers shall not rise. Rephaim, slackers shall not rise. Therefore you visit upon them and you destroy them. You have put an end to any memory of them. So, I don't know. See, I've been called a slacker throughout my teenage years. Anyway, good thing the English is meaningless when it comes to the word of God and understanding. Because like, oh, the slackers. Who's a slacker? I've been called, who has not been, well, a lot of people have been called a slacker. Rephaim, you need the Hebrew over there. We know the Rephaim, yes? The dead shall not live, these are the wicked. The dead, right? Those who don't do what they need to do, they're called dead while they're still alive. The walking dead, most of the world. Unfortunately, a lot of Israel too. They are like the carcass of an animal, says Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, who will rise on the day of judgment, but will not live. They will rise for judgment, but they're going right back down. But the generation of the flood, even on the day of judgment, they will not stand, as said, Rephaim bal yakumu. The Rephaim will not rise. Who are these Rephaim? They are the offspring of the Anakim and the Giborim, who are the offspring of the fallen angels. But don't think for a moment that it was they who caused man to sin. They may have helped things along, but we're the ones that started it. Starting from the days of Enosh, right? The son of Seth, the son of Adam, which means mortal. Look what it says in Genesis 6. And it came to pass when man commenced to multiply upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them. Man was doing all these things. These daughters at some point simply stopped wearing clothing at all and did whatever they wanted with whomever they wanted, when and where and however they wanted to do it, out in the open, out in public. Then the angels were cast down, when we read in verse 2 that the sons of God saw the daughters of man, for they were beautiful, and they took for themselves wives from whoever they chose. In other words, and we've learned this already, the angels that fell, right? They fell. Again, God said, you think you could do better than man? They're like, yeah, go ahead. That's what happened. So God said, go ahead, do it. And they fell to women. You see this. As a result, verse 3, and the Lord said, let my spirit not quarrel forever concerning man, because he is also flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. Again, the English does not deliver. Listen to the Hebrew. Vayomer Adonai, God said, Lo yadon ruchi ba'adam, le'olam. What does this mean? My spirit will not judge. Yadun, ladun, din is judgment. My spirit will not judge man ever. Not all men, obviously, but these men of this specific generation. Why is that? Because our purpose is to elevate this physical world into spirituality, right? The maintenance can be done simply through the laws of morality. These are the Noahide laws. But the reason the Torah was given is because the world continued on its downward spiral to the point where one can ask, maintain what exactly? We can't even maintain filth. It keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. This is why God appointed Israel to correct the world through the Torah. And so this generation was so corrupt, right, back then, that they literally turned the spiritual into the physical. They did the opposite. They didn't just go on how it was. They did the opposite of what creation is supposed to do. With the angels that fell after the daughters of men, they took spiritual and turned it into physical. Oy va'avoy. And again, everything is physical in this world today. Where's spirituality? What? And just like the physical has no business rising because it rots, so too they will never rise for this reason. Their fragmented souls did reincarnate into the generation of dispersion, right, the Tower of Babel, and then into Sodom and Gomorrah, and finally into the Egyptians. Each generation taking a particular beating respectively. So while the last three will rise, but only to be judged and condemned, we already know this, the Rephaim will not rise because they will simply cease to exist. That's it. So that generation does not rise while the other will rise, and boy, oh boy, is going to be a show. We continue with our text. Their very life force became demonic spirits and pestilence to man. And in the future, the Holy One, blessed be He, will snuff them out of the world. The world used here is me'ovdan, or avadon, right? We know avadon, as in they are lost. La'aved, to be lost. Halachti le'ibud, I got lost. Avadon, abandon all hope, right? Okay, that is the seventh layer of hell. No one gets out of there. But again, even that's going to be shut down forever. There's just no existence anymore for anything that is not connected to God. And why does God do this? Our text, so they will not harm any man from Israel ever again, as the verse in Isaiah says in 14, the dead shall not live, Rephaim shall not rise. Therefore you visited upon them and you destroyed them. You have put an end to any memory of them. This is them. In other words, they have no future, no rising, no trial, as even their memory will be removed. Just like Amalek. Amalek who? Rephaim what? What's this? Like that. Another verse, just for fun, is in Psalms 1:5, where it says, therefore the wicked shall not rise to judgment, nor shall the sinners in the congregation of the righteous. No sinners will be mixed with the congregation of the righteous. Okay? Badat tzadikim. Right. Now, listen. Meaning, just as the wicked won't rise for judgment, so too there will be no sinners among Israel. How do we know that we're talking about Israel here and not just like good people? Isaiah 60:21, and your people, who's God's people? It's Israel, obviously, there's no question here. All of them righteous. Ve'amcha kulam tzadikim, le'olam yirshu aretz, shall inherit the land forever, a sign of my planting, the work of my hands, in which I will glory. Whoa, don't mess with God's glory. Israel says, yadai litpa'er, don't go there. Rabbi Zechariah said, the sleep of the night. Okay, so we understand this. Now we're moving on to another topic. The sleep of the night is likened to this world, and the awakening in the morning is likened to the world to come. If you guys don't know, one of the measurements in Torah is they go by 60ths. Okay, let's say that you have a beef stew. You cooked a big beef stew, and you accidentally, you were gonna make some coffee for yourself, and you put some milk in there, and you dropped like a drop of milk accidentally into the beef stew, right? If the amount that you dropped in there is less than 1/60th of that entire pot, the pot is still kosher, you could eat it, it's not a problem. All right, these are the measurements. In other words, if it's a smaller pot and you did the thing, okay, is it 1/60th? It might be, but then we have to see how pure, let's say, was that drop of milk. Is there water mixed with milk? We know that there is. It's not straight up milk coming right out of the cow. But this is the measurement, right? So when we sleep, we experience 1/60th of death, which is also why in David's later years, he did such a tikkun, he did such a rectification that he never fully slept, meaning he never tasted death anymore. He already stopped tasting death while he was still alive. That's why we wash our hands first thing in the morning, to wash off the impurities of death. See, that's why we have to do that before we touch anything else, because then everything we touch has the impurities of death, especially in our fingertips. That's why even on Yom Kippur or on Tisha B'Av, even though we don't wash all our hands, because you're supposed to wash them all the way past your palms until your wrists, right? Even on these days where you're not supposed to wash yourself, if you will, you still wash your fingertips up till your knuckles, right? Because this is where it carries primarily. Want to know what happens when we sleep? Let's take a look. What is the sleep of night? Asks our text. When a man lays down to sleep, his spirit, his ruach, wanders throughout the entire earth and tells him in dreams all the events that will take place. That's right, every single night. Job 33:14-16. For God answers in one way and in two, to one who does not see it. In a dream, a vision of the night, when sound asleep falls upon men in the slumbers of the bed. Then he opens the ear of men, and with their chastisement, he seals them. Look at the answers right over there. Our body shuts down, but our spirit and soul, obviously, never does. But since we have no use for them while we sleep, they take a walk. They're not bound by our physical body and our consciousness anymore. Certain Kabbalistic books discuss how every night your soul testifies before God exactly what the person did that day. In other words, you go up there to actually give an account so that on the day of judgment, it is your soul that is going to testify against you. There's no excuses. Your soul's like, you know you did that. Of course you did that, right? Meaning your soul is going to testify against your physical body, your lower self. This way, you cannot deny yourself. Okay. Brilliant, right? It's also important to note that not all dreams, and I think we've discussed dreams plenty of times, not all dreams are 100% pure. In fact, they're never 100% pure, as they're all always a mixture between good and evil, right? Like the tree of knowledge of good and evil, truth and lies, fact and fiction, because we are living in the world of the tree of knowledge of good and evil after all. That's why everything is mixed up, which is why we must discern and not take everything as truth, even if part of the dream comes true. Because everybody at some point or other has had a dream that, let's say, the next day came true. How could this be? I mean, so ever so clearly could have been. Okay, and if only it was something significant. One time when I was in high school, I had this dream. Next day it came true, and it was something so stupid. Why? It's almost like, why did I, you don't control these things, right? In any case, in Ecclesiastes 10:20, it says the following: even in your thought you shall not curse a king, nor in your bedroom shall you curse a wealthy man. For the bird of the heaven shall carry the voice. And listen, the bird of the heaven shall carry the voice. And we know that the bird of the heaven, these are the angels. We know this already. And the winged creature, Ubal Knafaim, the one with the wings, it says, Yagid Davar, will tell the matter. Who is the winged creature here specifically? The winged creature is a seraph, okay? One of the different types of angels. This is who our souls are hanging out with every single night. This is what our dreams are. And like we said, they are often more convoluted than not, even when they are supposedly clear. To try and decipher them would be a mistake. You could just go with how it is. There's certain things I got certain books here. Yeah, I got certain books here about dreams and these two. Anyway, they're not in English, so don't even bother. I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. But in any case, they have, certain things. If you're dreaming about certain animals, certain places, and a certain night, depending what the day is, where your location is, then it gives you kind of an idea, right? So that's what these kind of things are, okay? That's what these things are. And also it's very important, be very careful to tell your dreams. Like, in other words, the person that you tell it to, make sure that, like we've said this before, and because we were discussing Joseph and how he told his brothers the dreams, you have to tell it to a person that you know that loves you. You know that person loves you, and that person knows that you're telling them the dream. So no matter how bad or seemingly bad it might be, that they will always give you a positive outcome, because what this person speaks, you can also speak things into reality. That's why dreams, be very, very careful with them, okay? As far as interpretation goes. If you have any questions regarding that, speak to me. Okay, where were we? Right, our dreams, more convoluted than not. Don't try and decipher them necessarily. If God is speaking to you in a dream, through your soul carried via an angel, no interpretation will be needed, right? The message you need to receive will be received. As we say, God does not stutter, right? In other words, if God needs you to know something, what does it mean? You don't have to break your mind. God will very clearly tell you what is going to happen. Now, I've had people also, in the other place say, oh, I had this and God told me that. None of it happened. None of it came true. But as long as you said that God said, that's also a no-no, as we have learned plenty of times. Okay, now, what about nightmares? Okay, that means that we are off and we need to do a great tikkun. That's what nightmares are, because the holy angels are basically flogging our souls for the sins of the body that we committed that day. That's what nightmares are. As said in Job 20, verse 8, like a dream, he will fly away, and they will not find him, and he will wander away like a vision of the night. Back to our text, when a man lays down to sleep, his spirit, his ruach, wanders throughout the entire earth and tells him that in his dreams all the events that will take place. Then will the ears of men be open. This is how the dead are. Their spirit wanders throughout all the earth, and it tells them everything that will happen. So we see that when we sleep and when we are dead, our spirits and souls experience similar things. This also shows us how detached we are from our souls, because otherwise we would know everything. I wake up from the sleep, I know exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. It doesn't happen that way, right? Obviously. But when we wake, we can barely remember what we dream as it flies away from us. But they, our spirits, give praise to the Holy One, blessed be He, who will revive them in the future. That's why the Spirit knows. You don't know. We here don't know, but our higher selves know what's going to happen. All the while that we are in the grave, this is what our souls and spirits do. And these are only the righteous who sing God's praises with hopes to be risen. In the grave, the wicked come to terms as to who they are, and they do know the truth as well as what will happen. In other words, oh boy, you know what's coming to you if and when you rise. So they know that when they will rise, they will not have a place in the world to come. Oy vavoy. So let's say, could you imagine the Egyptians doing such terrible atrocities to Israel, or the Christians' atrocities over the last 2,000 years to Israel? And now they're dead and gone. And oh boy, so they're burning this entire time, going with exactly what needs to come to them for what they did to God's people. Then they're going to rise, and that's when the fun's only going to begin. You don't want to be them. As said in Psalms 149:5, the pious will exalt in glory. They will sing praises on their beds. Al mishkavotam. On their beds? No. It says al mishkavotam, says the Hebrew, where they lay, as in the grave. A pious person in the grave has nothing to worry about. But anybody who is not worries a lot, because they know what's coming, as we do not. The awakening in the morning is like the world to come. Like we read, as said in Psalms 90, verse 14. Satiate us in the morning with your loving kindness, and let us sing praises and rejoice with all our days. We've discussed this before. The angels, the seraphim, the ophanim, and the chayot HaKodesh, and everybody, all the supernal hosts, they cannot stop singing and praising God. Why? Because they have such a higher understanding of all of creation than we do. We still have the potential to have a much higher understanding than they do. They're capped. They can only be where they can be, but we could go up or down, wherever. And they cannot stop praising God because they realize that God is all chesed, all loving kindness. That's what this is. This is what David realized. This is what Moses realized. This is what Abraham realized. These three guys, they realized this on their own to levels that no one has achieved, respectively. Sing praises and rejoice does not do justice to the word. Uneranena. Satiate us in the morning with your loving kindness. Now listen. Savanu baboker chasdecha. Uneranena venismecha bechol yamenu. Okay, so sing praises and rejoice. That's what uneranena. It does not do it justice. This comes from the word rina, like an arena, right? Ana rina means he answered with overwhelming joy and laughter. That's what rina is. It's the song of longing, happiness that the universe has been waiting for since its conception. Like, oh, finally, I can breathe, and this is it, and the joyous laughter. That's what Rina is. So when we say Uneranena, that's what we're saying. It is the longing and yearning of Israel that God return to Zion, and that the perpetual sleep that we are currently in will be a thing of the past. That we may rise from death, that has a hold on the world for almost 6,000 years, but no more, right? As we can read in Psalms 126, Shir HaMa'alot Beshuv Adonai et Shivat Zion Haynu Kecholmim. A song of ascent. When the Lord returns when the Lord returns the returnees to Zion, we shall be like dreamers. Good morning. Hello. What? Then our mouths will be filled with laughter and our tongues with songs of praise. Az yimale schok pinu ulshonenu rina. Here's another rina right here. Az yomu bagoim yigdil Adonai lasot imele. Then they will say among the nations, the Lord has done great things with these. Who's these? God's kids. The Lord has done great things with us. We are happy. Haynu semichim. When God returns to Zion, where he needs to be, that means all the ingathering of Israel. Knesset Israel is here with the Shekhinah, connection between God and the Shekhinah. Here we go. Haynu kecholmim. And then that's where ulshonenu rina, laughter and tongues, a song of praise. This is what we want. This is what we've been praying for. This is why you created the world, for unification over here. Return, O Lord, our captivity, like rivulets in arid land. Those who sow with tears will reap with song. Hebrew says, Hazorim bedima berina iktzoru. Psalms 126, okay? We sing this every time, on Chag or on Shabbat when we say Birkat HaMazon. Those who sow with tears will reap with song. Berina iktzoru. Haloch yelech uvacho. He will go along weeping, carrying the valuable seeds. He will come back with song. So sometimes it's translated as song, right? He will come back with song, carrying his sheaves. Haloch yelech uvacho, nose meshech hazara bo yavo berina, nose alumotav. You understand? This is what we are longing for, that rina to finally come. And that's today's class, kids. All right? I'll see you all next week, God willing. Please take care of yourselves. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. So, as always, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a great Sfirat HaOmer. Every day counts. And have a Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, and it's also Rosh Chodesh on Shabbat. Rosh Chodesh Iyar, Friday and Shabbat and Chodesh Tov. Bye-bye now.